When we first moved in with my in-laws, I told myself it was temporary. Just a season. A pause button while life sorted itself out. My husband had lost his job, and though he wore a brave face, the weight of it pressed into every silence between us. Bills stacked up on the kitchen counter like quiet accusations. We told ourselves we needed only a little time, for him to find something new, for us to save enough to stand on our own again. His parents' house seemed like the only option. And maybe, in his mind, it felt safe. Familiar. But from the moment I set my daughter's toys down on the carpet in the guest room, I knew. The house was not ours, and it would never feel like home. I placed her doll and stuffed rabbit gently in the corner, trying to make the space feel warm. That's when my mother-in-law's voice cut through the air. We like to keep things clean. That means no toys everywhere. The words stung. They weren't just about clutter. They were about belonging. About reminding me that even my daughter's presence had to be contained, hidden, made invisible. Their photographs stared out from heavy frames, birthdays, graduations, holidays, all milestones that did not include me. And as my eyes moved across the gallery of smiles, I noticed what was missing. No wedding picture of us. No photo of our daughter. Nothing from the family we had built together. We had sent pictures. Ones I'd carefully chosen, hoping they'd hang alongside theirs. But they weren't displayed anywhere. As if we had never existed. As if our story didn't belong on their walls. The smell of lemon polish clung to every surface, crisp and sharp, as though the house itself wanted to remind me, "You're a visitor here." Even the rhythm of the mornings was not my own. It started small, a comment here, a glance there. "Why are you feeding her at this time of day?" my mother-in-law asked one morning, her voice slicing through the clink of the spoon against the bowl. I froze, spoon suspended over my daughter's oatmeal. She was hungry, I said carefully, hoping the softness in my tone might soften her judgment too. I brushed a curl from my daughter's forehead, smiling at her sticky mouth. She was hungry, she scoffed, arms crossed. "She's spoiled now. You're making her fat. Just like you." Her words hit harder than I expected. My chest tightened, though I kept my face steady. I wasn't fat. I knew I wasn't. But in that moment, her voice made me doubt myself anyway. It made me feel exposed, as though every choice I made, every curve of my body, every bite my daughter took, was open for ridicule. I lowered the spoon slowly, forcing myself not to snap back, not to give her more ammunition. My daughter giggled, oatmeal smeared across her chin, blissfully unaware of the venom in the air. But inside, the words lodged deep. They festered. The oatmeal in my hand felt suddenly wrong, transformed into proof of my incompetence. My daughter reached eagerly for another spoonful, but my mother-in-law's eyes stayed on me, sharp, unblinking. It wasn't just oatmeal. It was everything. What my daughter wore. How I spoke to her. When I let her nap. Each choice I made carried a hidden verdict, one I learned to anticipate. I began to pare myself down to the smallest version of me. Neutral voice, short answers, head bent low, as though invisibility could protect me. That night, in the guest room, I whispered to my husband as we lay on the pull-out bed. "She doesn't trust me," I said. He sighed, already half asleep. "It's just how she is. She means well. But it's constant," I pressed, my voice cracking. "Every word I say, every decision I make, she undoes me." His hand found mine in the dark, warm and weary. "It's only for a little while," he murmured. "Just until I get something lined up. Then we'll be out of here. Just hang on." I turned my face into the pillow, swallowing the questions I wanted to ask. What if a little while stretches on longer than we thought? What if, by the time we leave, there's nothing left of me to take? And in that shadowed room, with my daughter's toys stacked neatly in the corner like borrowed belongings, I wondered if the silence I'd taught myself to keep was slowly becoming permanent. But the cruelty didn't stop with her. My sister-in-law, who should have been an ally, another woman who might understand, became a second echo of disapproval. Instead of solidarity, she offered betrayal. Meanwhile, my mother-in-law would thrust my sister-in-law's baby into my arms with a curt, "Here, take him," as though I were some unpaid nanny waiting to be summoned. I obeyed, because what choice did I have? But obedience was no longer quiet. Inside, resentment grew like a shadow, stretching wider with every favor I never agreed to, every demand disguised as obligation. Then one night, my best friend Maya told me the full truth. "She's been complaining to anyone and everyone," Maya said one afternoon, her voice low, as though speaking the words aloud might give them more power. "She says you're lazy, that you're rude, that your daughter is malnourished." The words landed like stones in my stomach. Lazy? Rude? Neglectful? When Maya repeated them, I felt them strike like open-handed slaps. The accusations were absurd, but absurdity doesn't make a lie less dangerous. I thought of afternoons at the park, chasing my daughter across the grass until she collapsed in giggles. I thought of mornings at the library, curled together in the corner with a stack of picture books. I thought of my tote bag, always packed with apple slices, crackers, juice boxes, small proofs of my care, my vigilance. And yet, in her mouth, I was recast as a monster. And in the ears of anyone willing to listen, I became the villain of her story. I sat in the dim light of our borrowed room. My daughter slept beside me, her small chest rising and falling in steady rhythm, each breath a reminder that innocence was fragile. I studied her face, the curve of her cheek, the little hand curled around her stuffed rabbit. So peaceful, so untouched by the ugliness pressing in from every corner of this house. No more, I thought. No more swallowing their contempt like medicine. No more letting their lies define me. She deserves better. I deserve better. For the first time since moving in, the thought of leaving wasn't just a desperate hope, it was a plan forming in the shadows. The next morning, I packed our bags. My hands trembled as I folded tiny clothes into a suitcase, but beneath the shaking was something stronger than fear, resolve. Each shirt, each pair of socks I tucked into the bag felt like a declaration. We are leaving. My daughter sat on the bed, clutching her rabbit by one ear, her wide eyes following every movement. I forced a smile for her. "Adventure time," I whispered, more to myself than to her. When I buckled her into her car seat, she giggled, blissfully unaware of the storm in my chest. I kissed her forehead, inhaled the warm, sweet scent of her hair, and shut the door with a finality that felt like freedom. And then I drove. 18 hours of asphalt stretched before me, miles of open highway, truck stops, and rest areas where I gave her snacks and let her toddle in the grass. The farther I drove, the lighter I felt, as though each state line erased another layer of bitterness. My hands ached on the wheel, my eyes burned, but my chest grew easier with every passing mile. At last, I pulled into the gravel drive of my parents' ranch. The land rolled out wide and unbothered, the silence broken only by the lowing of cattle and the rustle of wind through the trees. It was silence that soothed, not silence that accused. Here, in this place where I'd once climbed fences and chased fireflies, I finally exhaled. A week later, my husband arrived. When he stepped out of his car, his face was taut with exhaustion, but there was fire in his eyes I hadn't seen in years. That night, when the house was quiet, he told me everything. "I went to them," he said, voice rough. "I told them the truth. I told them they treated you like garbage. That you're my wife, the mother of my child, and all they've done is tear you down. I told them I should have defended you sooner." He swallowed hard, staring at his hands. They tried to deny it, tried to act like it was nothing. But I didn't let them. I said I was done letting them poison us. I reached across the table and covered his hand with mine. For a long moment, we just breathed together, the weight of his words settling like dust after a storm. Then he looked up at me, his eyes softer now. "We'll stay here, at your parents' ranch. At least for a while. We'll get back on our feet. We'll build something new. No more walking on eggshells. No more begging for space that should have been ours." Outside, the wind shifted through the trees, carrying the promise of wide skies and open days. For the first time in a long time, the future didn't feel like a sentence. It felt like a beginning. When my father-in-law returned from deployment, everything shifted. He listened. He saw. He understood in a way the others never had. "I'm so sorry," he said, his voice heavy with regret. "I'll help you. You don't have to live like that anymore. Unlike the others, he gave me kindness. Unlike the others, he believed me. His words landed like water on parched ground. I hadn't realized how desperately I had needed someone, anyone, from that family to stand beside me. Not long after, my husband got the email he had been waiting for, his dream job, in his parents' city. The kind of position that came with a salary big enough to change everything. We should have been celebrating, but instead, a knot tightened in my chest. We had spent nearly all our savings. We couldn't afford a place of our own yet. The plan we whispered at the kitchen table was heartbreaking. I would stay with my parents at the ranch, safe with our daughter, while he returned to his parents' house. Just for a little while, until the first paychecks cleared, until we could afford to be together again. When my father-in-law heard this, he shook his head firmly. No, he said. Families belong under the same roof. You've already been through enough. You don't need to split apart just to survive. He paused, his jaw tight, his eyes fierce with something like shame. I'll rent you a place. Somewhere close enough for his job, far enough to keep you away from them. I stared at him, hardly able to breathe. He was choosing us over his wife and daughter, breaking the pattern that had crushed me for so long. For the first time, someone in that family was not only believing me but protecting me. Tears blurred my vision as I whispered, "Thank you." And for the first time in months, the future opened wide. We wouldn't have to scatter, to live in pieces. We could start again, together, under one roof, in a space that belonged to us alone. I cut them off after that. No more insults. No more lies. No more pretending. Sometimes, late at night, I think about those years. About the way they never gave me a chance, the way they decided who I was before they ever knew me. But I also think about the future. About my daughter, and the day she might marry. When that day comes, I will not be the mother-in-law who poisons the air. I will not break boundaries or speak cruelty into her home. I will love her partner as if they were my own. Because I know what it feels like to be on the other side. And I refuse to be the reason someone else feels small in their own family. If this story resonated with you, know you're not alone. You are not the lies spoken about you, nor the judgments placed on you. You are stronger than they said you were, and you deserve peace, love, and a life that feels like home. Please like, comment, and share this story, and if you feel ready, share your story here.